Well, time now for our weekly African news slot. That's Eye on Africa. I'm joined by eNCA duty editor Crystal Orderson. She's here to help us unpack the latest developments in places like Chad and Nigeria and tell us again why it's important for us to know. Crystal, good morning. Thanks so much for your time again. So Chad's military, as we know, claiming victory in its weeks-long battle with northern rebels. Tell us what's happened there.
Yes, Yuveka, this has been the big story in Africa. Of course, that sudden death of its longtime leader, Idris Deby. Within 24 hours, they announced that his son, Idris Deby Jr., as I call him, was the leader. So there were two fronts. One, here you suddenly have a son being imposed without an election, without any engagement, and the nation never had a say over it. And then secondly, you had the military issue, because Chad, situated in the Central Africa, geographically has a very important role, has always had a very strong army involved with different kind of armies, helping with the G5, fighting the war in Sahel and other. The country has contributed extensively to different peacekeeping missions. And so it is quite an important country to watch, because if anything falters in Chad, Yuveka, it has consequences not only for that country but also for the region. It borders Libya, and we know what's happening in Libya. And so therefore, over the past few weeks, the new leader announced a new cabinet. Opposition parties still not very happy. And then, of course, this big announcement that they've overthrown this other military group. Of course, we don't know if that's the truth. Yuveka, we have to believe it right now.
Yeah, it's always a case with stories coming out of parts of Africa.
And I think we just, obviously everyone wants Chad just to be peaceful, to find a transition. They've promised that within 18 months they will have an election. So we'll have to wait and see, but an important story to monitor.
And just, I think, lots of questions around just the whole bizarre aspect of actually what happened to Idris Deby, but we understand details coming out, and we'll chat more about that in the coming weeks as well, as to exactly what happened to him there, where just after he was elected and he went out to be with soldiers, and what was going on there. Let's talk about Nigeria now. Nigeria, where I suppose many other countries could take a line out of their book, banning mass gatherings after COVID seems to be spiking massively.
Yes, so Nigeria matters, Yuveka, because it's Africa's most populous nation. We're watching in terms of numbers, etc. And the Nigerian authorities are saying, hold it, we are concerned about the third wave. We know what's happening. So they've already banned travelers from Brazil, Turkey, India. They're not taking any chances. And they're saying, because we know church gatherings and other religious gatherings in Nigeria, it's massive. You can't imagine, we're talking thousands upon thousands. And they're saying we need to hold on this. Of course, Eid is being celebrated in the coming days. And so authorities being very concerned that they need to halt, because they don't want a third wave. Of course, we are being told that, you can't stop it, it's going to happen, and the authorities just wants to preempt it. So interestingly enough, Yuveka, their numbers are quite low. I mean, we're looking at 2,000 deaths, only about 165,000 cases. There's always a question, can we trust the numbers?
Unfortunately, that is the question when it comes to Africa,
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
But these are the numbers we are getting from the authorities. People on the ground are telling us something else. But we have to, take from what the authorities are giving us. And so that's one issue. They have started rolling out. They've already vaccinated 1.7 million people. It sounds like a big amount, but you can think of the population. It's much bigger. And so, interestingly enough, WHO this week praised Africa for their united stance. But the reality is, we've lagged behind the global vaccine drive. And we can't run away from that. And as much as the WHO is praising us for having a united voice, I don't think we should be praised when our vaccine rollout is so slow.
Yeah, it is so slow. So we'll continue to watch what's happening, I suppose, in several countries, but Nigeria in particular, and especially, like you say, with Eid celebrations and Ramadan coming to an end in the next few days, what's going to happen? Will people adhere to those rules? Now, we've been talking in the office side by side about this new malaria vaccine. We're so excited about it. Tell us about that, and what's its impact for Africa?
Absolutely. So, Yuveka, I think it's a big game changer. We've just not spoken about it. Why? Because our concentration and what we speak about is all about COVID. Interestingly enough, Yuveka, and malaria is actually a bigger killer than COVID. And Africa, sub-Saharan Africa in particular, gets impacted massively. And it's young children here on our continent that's dying. And so what we see, the same team of researchers that developed AstraZeneca with other researchers from the continent and other parts of the world, they've been working on this vaccine. But of course, due to COVID, everything was halted. However, they did do it. It's called R21, Yuveka, and they actually had a pilot of 450 children, 77% efficacy. Now, the WHO tells us you need at least 75% efficacy. So this is a big game changer. But of course, the reality is, Yuveka, how we find ourselves, there's so many COVID vaccines being developed. Where's the malaria vaccine going to go? Because you need to have other studies as well.
Yeah.
You need political will from African leaders to say, we need this vaccine. We need it for our continent. We need it for our children. So while medically and scientifically it's a big game changer, it's amazing news, for me the concern is, do we have the political will and the financial muscle to eventually see this malaria vaccine being rolled out across the continent?
So for now we're on a waiting list, hoping to be bumped up. That's what's happening. All right, Crystal Orderson, wonderful insight as always, looking at big stories in Africa for us and why it should matter to us. We'll continue to watch that one, and as soon as you know it's been given the green light, you let us know, and we're going to talk about that. Thanks very much, eNCA's duty editor this morning, Crystal Orderson, always on the Eye in Africa, just bringing us up to speed on what's happening on the continent.